My name is Vikram. I'm co-founder at Hypersign ID. But before I start this panel, I would just not want to know how many in this room know about World ID? Anyone? World ID? Hands up, please. Some people know it, but they are not raising their hands. But or Civic? Anyone? Civic coin? Yeah. Oh, we have OGs. Amazing. So I think identity as a concept for Web3, it's not new. It's not new to at least the people in this room. So I don't have to explain that. I just wanted to understand what type of audience I have today. So today we are going to talk about mostly on-chain identity, how we are trying to build on-chain identity while still trying to, maintain privacy for the end users. And in this panel, we have 3 different founders, and all of them come from a different use case of ID. So many people would have heard about VIDs and verifiable credential, but now it's getting used in different domain and use cases, specifically for, Web3 ecosystem. And we are going to just share our experience building this technology, and also try to just discuss some points, that could be potentially valuable for you all. So I would start with me. My name is Vikram. I'm founder at Hypersign ID. We provide compliance for DeFi and RWA project.
Yeah, this is Raj here. So we are building a reputation layer for Web3 users. So what we do exactly, we analyze the user's activity with the different protocols, users interaction with the complete ecosystem, and then we try to generate the signal from that activities, and that we return to it to generation of reputation. So that layer we defined on those activities, and then we can define any metrics. It could be general reputation score, or it could be a tool like to pursue an instance, or it could go into track your loyalty of the users from the starting of the when you start the project, right? From there are pixel, you can track any loyalty of users in the ecosystem. Okay.
Hi everyone, this is Dibyo. I'm the co-founder of Turf Gaming, and so I am from the gaming ecosystem, and why I'm here in an identity brand, right? So that's where Turf. I'll just introduce what Turf is. Turf is an on-demand esports facilitation platform, enabling all the Web3 games to leverage the esports sentiment, the esports crowd that are out there globally. So what's the idea in it, right? So the initial version, the phase 1, when we looked around what should we going forward with, the first thing we got to know is the professionalism in the gaming industry is not there, right? And the professionalism is tied up with a gamer's identity. So that's where we started, and we deployed our whole module to make the gamers ecosystem more professional, and that's where ID comes in. So I will be talking about more. Let's begin.
Yeah, so we have very wide variety of identity use cases, compliance, gaming, reputation. But the first question that comes in my mind, even when I was reading it, when we are trying to understand the user, the whole point of having anonymous wallet was that we don't want to know about the user, because then you start exposing their privacy. And when you were explaining about your product, you talked about we track activities across different chains, and then try to provide a reputation score. So I would love to know how do you see the privacy part enabled? So even though the wallets are getting scored, but you are not exposing the user's privacy. So nobody should be able to actually know who this user is, right? With their actual information. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So what we do, right, as a safety, we are analyzing the user's activity. And if you are defining the reputation for the users, then it means that this reputation will be assigned to the identity of the user. And that's where DID, right, unlocks and gives more power to decentralized identity. And how it does, and how it makes sure that privacy is preserved the DIT provides you right the way to which either which right you want to share with the right application and the services. Suppose you want to share some of the particular data, right? So you can just share those attributes with the application services, and that will make sure your privacy is built up.
So to summarize, DID provides selective disclosure of the data, and you do not store all this data on chain. So it is not publicly available, but it can be disclosed in a way to the protocol, like say DAO integrates Reputex. So user would be able to provide their reputation score specific to the interaction of the pool, and only that part, get exposed. Yeah. Okay. So, yeah. So, and Divya, can you also talk about privacy in terms of gamers' identity?
So we get lots of reputation data, and this, if it is attached to the DID, and the DID holder wants to just share a few of those reputation data, not be complete, right? As per like suppose if you're building DeFi protocols, right, and if your reputation is attached with that particular DID and you want to share the DID, DeFi related reputation data, just you will share that using the DID.
So talking about the use case in the gaming industry, right? One of the crucial pointers that I have seen is the identity theft. And that's where in the gaming industry, let's say I'm getting hired in one of the esports organizations, and in this whole process people used to do it through Google Forms, where all of the game IDs are publicly available for the top players that are out there in, let's say, any part of the world. So when it comes to the privacy, I would say in the gaming industry it's not at all there in terms of the game IDs that are already available. But with the module that we have made, it's around game ID ownership verification, right? That makes sure that their game IDs can be shared to the relevant parties, the relevant consumers that are out there, and the particular esports organization can leverage it. So obviously, I would say from the privacy point of view, we are taking a step forward to make things more tied up to a person, where a proof of gaming is there, proof of achievements is there. And yeah, that's kind of a bit on my end, I would say.
I would like to add some points from a compliance perspective. For example, in case of hypersign, very simple, usual in a Web2 KYC dashboard, you have all the user data. But in case of hypersign, you only see access. So who is the user who has done this KYC, and some metadata about the user and information about the wallet, like what type of wallet it is. But the data is only exposed only when there is some problem happens. So if there is, government bodies asking for specific data, so the service provider can request access to the user that, hey, can you please provide me this credential data? It is all actually automated, so they request access. And that's how we are trying to enable privacy. We cannot do complete end-to-end privacy because of the regulatory reasons. So we are not as probably privacy centric as Reputex, or we are trying to be in between, you can say Web 2.5 privacy. Okay, so privacy part is done. Next comes the interoperability and identity management across different chain. So, in case of Reputex, can you talk about a product like Dojima, which is interlinked blockchains, right? And they are trying to provide an infrastructure to build smart contract, and build products on top of that, deploy smart contracts. So, how would a reputation play a role there in terms of interoperability of the accounts? So, because the user is across different chain, and maybe you can just give your thoughts.
So what we at Reputex, right, we provide the very correct credentials also with the specific data. So if you see the DID itself, right, is the one of way if you combine with the issue, then it will unlock different potential within the Omnichain ecosystem. And how it does, if you want to get it verified, which is a universal identity, and if you want to get it verified, that particular issue, you can do and you can interact with any of the applications and different chains within the Omni ecosystem.
Yeah, sure. So obviously this Omnichain ecosystems, I would say, who are working towards the interoperability does play a crucial role for our products like us, where we are enabling a lot of games that can be in any chain. Let's say it can be in Aptos, can be in Mantle, or any chain it could be. So one of the crucial things that we are trying to do, and what this Omnichain ecosystem can help us do, is to aggregate all the data at one place, right? So all these, what we are trying to do here is the game ID aggregations and bringing all the data in one place so that we can leverage the data of proof of achievements and share it. Let's say today a game is there, right? A same genre game of that's there in Aptos, and the same game data can be leveraged in any of the other games that, let's say, it's in Polygon, right? These kind of interoperability matters to us, and that's where we see that it should be tied up with a identity that is chain agnostic, right? So obviously these identifiers is needed for us and we have to execute through an Omnichain ecosystem so that we have this interoperability kind of thing where it's not hard for us to be available on different chains and have access to different chains.
In case of KYC, in case of hypersign, it is actually much simpler than this. We write the state of KYC, some information metadata of KYC on a type of NFT which cannot be exchanged between two wallets, and since it stays on Dojima chain, so the connected chain Dojima is integrated with IBC connection. So any chain that has IBC enabled can verify the state of data of users' identity of Dojima. Now the next question is a little more difficult. So identity is all about tracking and we're trying to understand users. Do you think there is a governance play there? And if it is, then how can we visualize a governance model on top of identity protocol? Anyone of you can take it?
DID is just considered in what's the role of DID in the governance, and it will prevent the malicious actor side to create the multiple identities and manipulate the voting power in the governance cycle. So if you are suppose taking example of the Omnichain ecosystem itself, if you have like combination of DID that will prevent no one can able to manipulate the voting power. And same way, if you see the consensus also, if the particularly DIV attached to the regulation, right, that we made sure, to more informed decision making within the governance.
This was more like how identity can help governance. My point is, can we implement governance on top of identity protocol? So is there any need for that? First thing is that, do you understand where I'm going? So maybe Divya, if you want to add, if you had thought about, adding governance layer on top of Turf, then how it could affect the base layer ledger that you are writing, the DIDs and credential. Whether governance is helpful there, or do you understand my question? Yeah.
That's an interesting one, I would say, right? And whenever there is a call for governance, people think of their stake, right, in the governance system. What I think is, whenever an identity is attached, apart from the stake, there is the point of credibility, right? So that's where I'm seeing this going forward. I don't feel like it's the need of the hour where the governance systems for a decentralized protocols, this is needed. But let's say for use cases where credibility matters of the stakeholders, for taking a decision that really matters, yeah, the credibility point of view, whenever this is there, I feel the governance systems, whenever that is built, that needs an identity that can literally tie up to your credentials, let's say to your proof of achievements, or let's say to be, it can be anything, right? It depends on the protocol you are talking the governance about. So yeah, I see this happening whenever there is a credibility play coming in, identities and reputations goes in hand, and that's where the governance can be played around. But yeah, I haven't seen any implementations right now, but obviously looking forward.
I would just like to add one point here. I was just thinking when he was talking about the governance. My thought goes back to there was a big influencer on Twitter. I think he was a Web3 influencer, and his account was deleted, and then he could not claim it, right? Because the identifier belongs to Twitter and not to that influencer, even though all the reputation is the influencer who got it. What if there was a governance model there? Like us as a Twitter user could, take decision that, hey, before deleting his identifier, we as a Twitter user can take part in that, decision making. So I feel this is where decentralized identifier, because decentralized identifier, before writing decentralized identifier on a ledger, you go through consensus mechanism, and then consensus is connected with governance. Nobody can change the state of the data without taking decision through governance, and I feel that's a very strong feature that DIDs have got. Now the next question is even more difficult, and it is more about the business and less about technology and all this privacy angle. Identity is not very hyped up thing. Like as a builder, you, me, or we keep discussing, making product is one thing. Making business out of this product is second. So I want to know some challenges that you both are facing, and even me, I would also share that. While making it as a business, do you have problem getting customers, getting funding, or you think like, no, the market is bullish, you should build more ID products in Web3 space or Web2 is saying?
With respect to DID roughly,
Customers, how are you thinking to onboard your customer, or you are feeling some challenges that we have, and then about on it?
Correct. So when you keep the reputation for the users, right, and when you want to onboard them and provides the right value with their reputation. So the biggest challenge that you suppose you could have like multiple wallets itself, right, and attaching all those wallets, right, to DID and creating the reputation. And if you're not able to do that, just very difficult, right, to create a actual reputation for the users, right, and that's where the DID play a very crucial role. And this is the challenge we faced while creating.
Like, are you not able to get team?
Correct, because of that, yeah. So they're not attaching their wallets to the DIDs.
The users are on different chain and
Yeah.
have different wallets.
Yeah, that's where maybe the Omnichain ecosystem will help a lot.
Very. It's a cool. Maybe to be able to look at.
From the business point of view, there are obviously few challenges when we talk to multiple stakeholders in the Web2 ecosystem, because most of the games that we are working on with are Web2 games, right? And the esports organizations are also Web2. So I'll take an example of a few customers of what we have as, let's say, an esports organizations who are hiring, right? So whenever I get to their proposition like, hey, why should you use Turf ID? Then the issue comes in like, hey, why should I be using decentralized identifier? I just learned about wallet, right? So that's where the thing goes wrong, I would say. There is even if we have pure implementations around the game ID ownership verification, right? So talking about customers. So when we talk about self-sovereign identity, there are three players, right? First is the issuer, right, who is issuing you the identity. That's where the third parties are trusting, right? And the next is the user itself who is holding that identity. And the guys, those are the very crucial parts, right? They are your real consumers, right? If I'll be able to trust that particular issuer or not, it depends. We have every business point of view, right? Whenever I'm reaching out to any customers, we have to prove as a turf, as an issuer, you should trust us, right? Even if we are the issuance, the whole system is cryptographically handled, but they have to have an inherent trust in terms of we are issuing the credentials in a right manner, right? So that level of trust, I would say, is yet to be made between us and customers, even if we are using decentralized identifiers, right? So once this whole communication is sorted, people know more about like how exactly the mechanism is happening and how we are doing it. It creates the level of trust between the vendors who will be using us and using our verified services to leverage in their business. So obviously there is a knowledge gap and trust gap. If that is sorted, then we are good to go.
Second point about funding, like what any challenges are in PNA while working on building ID products, or you feel like this is a better place, like ID as a use case for any new developer who wants to?
See, I would say ID as a use case, it is very much beneficial for us, right? But as of the market conditions that I have been seeing, that you cannot take this identity as the moat to your fundraise, right? And that's what we are also not doing. But from the use case point of view, it is totally the solid place that we have to be worrying about and creating the level of trust that we want to do. So yeah, that's kind of my point.
Actually, great points. From a compliance side is standard. We have two types of users, degens and doxed. Doxed people are okay to do KYC, degens don't want to do KYC. For me personally, challenges are that finding more and more RWA projects who are looking to do or integrate KYC solution. And yeah, it's still, although market cap wise RWA is big, but number of projects are still small. So number of new projects are now coming up. So defining product market fit is tough. Defining the total TAM that you can reach to, that is also tough as a founder. So these are some of the challenges. And from the funding side, personally, I feel I actually resonate with BPO. If I try to do we build a complete, lower level DID and verifiable credential infrastructure. We had so many projects integrating us, but then they all moved into to a bigger ecosystem like Polygon ID or other IoT projects. Then I decided, okay, I can reduce my scope and make it more subcategory wise. So I went into KYC as a solution. So rather than selling identity or DID credential as a tech, now I'm selling a solution which is sort of working better than before. So that's my last 1 quarter's research. Next, and yeah, I know these questions are could be you don't want to answer some of them, but I just thought it could be some of the problems that we are facing could be beneficial for other people who want to come into identity space, because definitely this space is getting bigger and more solutions and newer solutions are required. So with that, I will close the panel. If somebody has any questions, happy to answer them, or thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for listening to us.